Welcome to Mastermind with me, John Humphrys. In the spotlight tonight are David Finlay, an insurance broker whose specialist subject is Lorenzo de Medici. Louisa Hibble, an administrator who will be answering questions on the Back to the Future trilogy. Suzanne Kelly, a reporter whose subject is British breweries. And Christopher Murphy, an account manager whose specialist subject is the life and works of John Lennon. Four people, each hoping that they will eventually become the owner of a rather beautiful glass bowl and, rather more importantly, the title of Mastermind Champion, a rare honour, and all they have to do is answer a couple of sets of questions, one on their specialist subject and the other on general knowledge. 2 minutes on the first, 2.5 minutes on the second, and there is no arguing with the clock. So let's get on with it and ask our first contender to join us, please. And your name is?
David Finlay.
Your occupation?
Insurance broker.
And your specialist subject?
Lorenzo de Medici.
A 15th century Florentine statesman and great patron of the arts, Lorenzo the Magnificent. Here we go, 2 minutes. Who wrote of Lorenzo that one might see him in two different persons, joined in an almost impossible conjunction?
Luigi Pulci.
Machiavelli. Lorenzo's brother was murdered in Florence's cathedral in 1478 as part of the Pazzi conspiracy which aimed to overthrow the Medicis. What was his brother's name?
Giuliano.
Yeah. Lorenzo was able to escape assassination when one of his companions blocked the advance of one of Giuliano's killers and was mortally wounded in the process. Who was the companion?
Poliziano?
No, Nori. Giuliano's illegitimate son, who was brought up by Lorenzo after the murder, became Pope in the 16th century. Under what name and number? He refused Henry VIII's divorce from Catherine of Aragon.
Clement VII.
Yes. To bring an end to the war that followed the Pazzi conspiracy, Lorenzo personally travelled to Naples to meet the king and negotiate peace terms. Which king?
Ferrante.
Yes. The great Renaissance artist Michelangelo studied in Lorenzo's garden at San Marco under the supervision of which sculptor?
Verrocchio.
No, Bertoldo. Lorenzo took his father's place on a public arts committee in 1466. It commissioned Andrea del Verrocchio to sculpt which work?
Pass.
The defection of one of the leaders of a 1466 conspiracy against the Medicis is credited to Lorenzo's diplomacy. Which leader?
Luca Pitti.
Yes. Lorenzo married his wife, a member of the Orsini family, in 1469. What was her first name?
Clarice.
Yes. Which humanist scholar and poet was taken into Lorenzo's household and tutored Lorenzo's children in the 1470s? He left after disagreements with Clarice.
Poliziano.
Yeah. Shortly before his death, Lorenzo wrote a letter of advice to his son Giovanni. Which city did Lorenzo describe in the letter as a sink of all iniquities?
Rome.
Yes. Lorenzo died in 1492 at the age of 43. At which Medici estate? His father, Piero, and his grandfather, Cosimo, had died at the same place.
Careggi.
Yes. In the early 1470s, Lorenzo was frequently absent from Florence while he worked on a project to reopen the university. In which city?
Pisa.
Yep. Lorenzo's prized possessions included a rare manuscript copy of Alberti's book on architecture and 3 versions of the ancient Roman text which inspired it. Who was the author of that text?
Vitruvius.
Is correct. You had just one pass, David. Andreas del Verrocchio sculpted Christ and St. Thomas. That was his work. You have scored 10 points.
Thank you.
And our next contender, please. And your name is?
Louisa Hibble.
Your occupation?
Administrator.
And your chosen subject?
Back to the Future trilogy.
Back to the Future trilogy. The film's directed by Robert Zemeckis, which featured the time-travelling exploits of a teenage boy and his friend. Here we go. In Back to the Future, Marty McFly travels to 1955 in a DeLorean DMC-12 car that Doc Brown has fitted with a Y-shaped electronic device which makes time travel possible. What's the name of the device?
Flux capacitor.
Yes, Marty McFly escapes from terrorists in Back to the Future by driving the DeLorean back in time to 55. What is the first object the car crashes into when he gets there?
A scarecrow.
Yes. Who co-wrote the screenplay for Back to the Future with the director, Robert Zemeckis? He was the sole author of the screenplays for the sequels.
Bob Gale.
Correct. In all 3 films, a member of the Tannen family crashes into a vehicle carrying manure. What surname is written on the side of the vehicle each time?
Tannen.
Jones. What film starring Ronald Reagan and Barbara Stanwyck is showing at the cinema in Hill Valley when Marty first arrives in the 1955 version of The Town?
Pass.
Which actor was originally cast as Marty McFly and filmed some scenes before he was replaced by Michael J. Fox?
Eric Stoltz.
Yeah. What television channel that boasts beautiful views 24 hours a day starts playing when the 85 version of Jennifer is dropped off by police officers at the McFly family home in 2015?
Scenery Channel.
Yes. Which actress plays the role of Jennifer Parker, Marty McFly's girlfriend, in Back to the Future? The character was played by Elizabeth Shue in the 2 subsequent films.
Claudia Wells.
Correct. What is the name of the British costume designer for both Part 2 and Part 3? She'd previously worked with Robert Zemeckis on Who Framed Roger Rabbit.
Joanna Johnson.
Yes, the band Huey Lewis and the News contributed 2 songs to the soundtrack of the first Back to the Future film, The Power of Love and which other?
Back in Time.
Yep, in the first film, Marty appears in his father's bedroom claiming to be an alien called Darth Vader. What planet does he say he's from?
Pluto.
Vulcan. After Doc Brown passes out drunk in the saloon in Back to the Future Part 3, the bartender Chester creates a drink as an alternative to coffee to sober him up. What's the name of the drink?
Wake Up Juice.
Yep. What brand is the lethal-looking hoverboard that Griff uses to chase Marty in Back to the Future Part 2?
Pitbull.
Pitbull is correct. You had just one pass, Louisa. That film starring Ronald Reagan and Barbara Stanwyck was Cattle Queen of Montana. You have scored 10 points. And our next contender, please. And your name is?
Suzanne Kelly.
Your occupation?
I'm a reporter.
And your specialist subject?
British breweries.
British breweries in 2 minutes. Here we go. In 1876, the first British trademark to be registered was a red triangle used on labels for pale ale. Which brewery's trademark was it?
Bass.
Yeah. Which brewery, founded in Scotland in 2007, was criticised by alcohol safety and animal welfare organisations for selling a 55% ABV beer named The End of History in bottles packaged inside stuffed squirrels and stoats?
Brewdog.
Yes. Hawkshead Brewery was opened in the Lake District in 2002 by a former BBC foreign correspondent who also presented the Today programme. What's his name?
Going to have to pass, sorry.
What is the name of the pub in Helston in Cornwall that's had its own brewery since the 15th century and is home to the well-known Spingo ales?
The Blue Anchor.
Correct. Which brewery in Wainfleet near Skegness is noted for the windmill that stands on its site, which has featured regularly in the brewery's artwork, including the company logo?
Adnams.
Bateman's. In 1935, the Welsh brewery Vellinboyle launched a beer commercially in a new form of packaging. What sort of container was that?
It was a keg.
No, a can. Which beer from Castle Rock Brewery in Nottingham is known by a girl's name, although the name is actually derived from the type of pale-coloured malted barley used to make it?
Marjorie.
Moe, Elsie Moe. Black Sheep was established in 1992 in Masson, North Yorkshire, by a member of a famous brewing family whose own brewery also stands in the town. Which family?
Paul Theakston.
Yes. Which Cheshire brewery is known for a range of beers with names that end in the suffix less? Examples include Directionless, Reckless and Heartless.
I'm going to have to pass.
Tribute, a beer made by the St Austell Brewery, was launched in 1999 to celebrate the total solar eclipse in Cornwall. Under what name did it originally go on sale before the name was changed in 2001?
Was it Dark Star?
It was actually Daylight Robbery, which is quite clever when you think about it. Anyway, 2 passes, Suzanne. That Cheshire brewery, known for the range of beers ending in less, Red Willow. And the chap who set up Hawkshead Brewery, an old mate of mine, Alex Brodie.
Oh.
There you go. You've scored 4 points.
Oh, well.
And our final contender, please. And your name is?
Christopher Murphy,
Your occupation?
an account manager.
And your specialist subject?
The life and works of John Lennon.
John Lennon, in 2 minutes. Here we go. Lennon's song Hello Little Girl was one of the songs performed by the Beatles at an audition for a record label on New Year's Day 1962. They failed the audition. What was the label?
Decca.
Yeah. Which song on the Sgt. Pepper album was partly inspired by a newspaper article that Lennon had seen about the state of the roads in Blackburn?
A Day in the Life.
Yes, in its debut edition of July 1961, a Liverpool music newspaper carried a brief comical biography of the Beatles written by Lennon entitled Being a Short Diversion on the Dubious Origins of Beatles. Which paper?
The Liverpool Echo.
The Mersey Beat. What make was the first car bought by Lennon after he passed his driving test in 1965?
A Rolls-Royce.
A Ferrari. In the 1967 film How I Won the War, Lennon plays a character called Private Gripweed who wears small, round granny glasses. Who directed the film?
Dick Lester.
Yep. After their wedding in March 1969, John and Yoko held their first bed-in for peace at a hotel in Amsterdam. Which hotel?
The Hilton.
Yes. Which track on John and Yoko's double fantasy album includes the lines, "Here in the Valley of Indecision, I don't know what to do"?
I'm Losing You.
Yes. What single by Lennon, Yoko and the Plastic Ono Band reached number 5 in the UK chart in 1970 and was released with the words "Play Loud" printed on the A-side face label?
Instant Karma.
Yep. During a recording session with David Bowie at the Electric Lady Studios in New York City in January 1975, Lennon helped compose a song that became Bowie's first US #1 single in the Billboard Hot 100. Which song?
Fame.
Yep. In 1957, Lennon's mother bought him an acoustic guitar by mail order. What was the make of the guitar?
Oh, a Fender.
Galatone. Much of the Lennon album Imagine was recorded at Ascot Sound Studios, built in the grounds of his English country house. What was the house called?
Tittenhurst Park.
Yes. In December 1980, 2 days before Lennon was murdered, he was interviewed by a BBC Radio 1 DJ. Which DJ?
Andy Peebles.
Yes. What was the name of the house at 251 Menlove Avenue, Liverpool, where Lennon was brought up by his Aunt Mimi and Uncle George after his parents' separation?
Mendips.
Is correct. No passes, Christopher. You've got 10 points. Well, quite a few 10-pointers out there. Let's have a look at all of the scores. In 4th place with 4 points, Suzanne, and then tied for 1st place, 10 points apiece, David, Louisa and Christopher. So it is the general knowledge round now, and if there's a tie at the end of it, which very well might be, then the number of passes is taken into account, and the person with the fewer passes is the winner. And if they're tied on passes as well, there has to be a tie break. So let's ask Suzanne to join us again, please. You now have the general knowledge round. 2.5 minutes of it to overtake the field. Here we go. Which insects live in a nest, sometimes known as a formicary?
Ants.
Yes. The autobiography A Long Way Home by Saroo Brierley was adapted into a 2016 film that starred Dev Patel as a student in Australia who, as a child, became separated from his family in India. What film?
Slumdog Millionaire, no.
Lion. Captain Cat, the Reverend Eli Jenkins and Polly Garter are characters in which work by Dylan Thomas?
Pass.
What solemn expression that signifies agreement when spoken at the end of a prayer comes from the Hebrew for truth and means so be it?
Amen.
Yes. The 2002 reality television series Pop Stars, The Rivals created a boy band and a girl group. What was the name of the boy band?
One Direction.
One True Voice.
One True
Which
Voice.
Scandinavian country is known in its main official language as Suomi?
Finland.
Yes. The stylist and former model Edward Enninful succeeded Alexandra Shulman as editor-in-chief of the British edition of which fashion magazine in 2017?
GQ.
Vogue. The anti-slavery campaigner William Wilberforce, the poet Stevie Smith and the aviator Amy Johnson were all born in which English city?
St. Liverpool.
Hull. AC, as opposed to DC, is the system used by the National Grid to transmit mains electricity. What do the letters AC stand for in this context?
Alternate current.
Yeah. The 1921 Tractatus Logico Philosophicus was the first major work by which influential Austrian-British philosopher?
Kant.
Wittgenstein. The English Derby is a horse race run at Epsom over what distance to the nearest furlong?
8.
1 mile 4 furlongs. An art auction at Christie's in March 2019 that included works by Damien Hirst, Tracy Emin and Bridget Riley raised more than £11 million for charity. The collection had previously belonged to a British singer who died on Christmas Day in 2016. Which singer?
George Michael.
Yes, the holder of which government post is the chief legal advisor to the Crown in England and Wales?
Pass.
What is the name of the merchant and sailor of Arabian legend who, during the course of his voyages, discovers the Valley of Diamonds and the egg of the giant bird known as the Roc?
Sinbad.
Yes. What is the title of the British daily newspaper launched in 2010 as a sister paper to The Independent?
Is it I?
Yes, indeed it is I. You had 2 passes. Suzanne, the Attorney General, is the holder.
I was thinking the wool pack, the old days, but there we go.
Yeah. And Captain Cat, Eli Jenkins, and Polly Garter under Milkwood. There you go. You have a total now of 11 points. And next, David. And you and all the others start out this with 10 points. So let's see how you do with your general knowledge. Here we go. Which long-running West End musical features the songs Thank You for the Music, Dancing Queen and Take a Chance on Me?
Pass.
Which country won the most gold medals at the 2018 Commonwealth Games?
England.
Australia. What is the name of the Midwinter Fire Festival which takes place every January in Lerwick in the Shetland Islands?
Up Heliar.
Yeah. Which actor plays George VI in the 2010 film The King's Speech about the monarch's struggle to overcome a speech impediment?
Pass.
Which metallic element has the atomic number 3? It's the lightest of the elements that are solid at standard temperature and pressure.
Lithium.
Yes. What name was given to the rapid delivery service that used relays of horses to transport mail between Missouri and California from 1860 to 61?
The Pony Express.
Yep. Who was the original presenter of the children's television programme Newsround when it was first shown in 1972?
John Craven.
Yes. Which river, the longest entirely in France, rises in the Massif Central and flows more than 600 miles north and then west before it enters the Bay of Biscay?
Loire.
Yep. Which American rock star had his 11th UK #1 album in June 2019 with Western Stars? He last topped the chart in 2014 with a release entitled High Hopes.
Bruce Springsteen.
Yep. What name was given to the principle adopted in 1823 that any expansionist activity by a European power in the Americas would be regarded as a threat to the United States itself?
Pass.
In Greek mythology, who flew with a pair of wings made from feathers and wax, but fell into the sea and drowned after he went too close to the sun and the wax melted?
Icarus.
Yep. What name is given to the classic Creole dish, similar to gumbo, made from highly spiced meat, poultry or shellfish mixed with rice and usually served with Tabasco sauce?
Gumbo.
Jambalaya. Beleaguered Castle, Miss Milliken and Salic Law are all varieties of which card game?
Bridge.
Patience. Wile E. Coyote is the enemy of which television cartoon bird? Both characters made their first appearance in 1949.
Roadrunner.
Yes. What item of swimwear is named after an atoll in the Marshall Islands? The atoll was the site of experimental nuclear explosions by the Americans in the 1940s and 50s.
Bikini.
Yep. Marenka is the title character of an 1866 opera by Smetana. What is the opera's English title?
Pass.
What everyday name is given to the painful muscular spasms that often affect the lower leg? They can be caused by physical overexertion or salt deficiency.
I have absolutely no idea.
Well, I can put you out of your misery and tell you, because we're out of time. Cramp.
Oh, yes, of
Yes.
course.
Yep. The other passes that you had, The Bartered Bride is the English name for that Smetana opera. The Monroe Doctrine that says any attack by European power in the Americas would be an attack on America itself. Colin Firth played George VI. And all those songs, Thank You for the Music, etc. Mamma Mia, which you knew.
That's
yeah,
new.
indeed, indeed. David, you've now scored a total of 19 points. And now Louisa again, please. And obviously, you start out with 10 points. Louisa, 19 is the score to beat as things stand. Here we go. The independent states of San Marino and Vatican City are completely surrounded by what country?
Italy.
Yeah. Which bones in the human skeleton are arranged in pairs connected to the vertebrae of the spine? The uppermost 7 pairs are also connected by cartilage to the breastbone.
Lung.
Ribs. What is the first name of the older brother of Ed Miliband, whom he beat in the 2010 Labour Party leadership election?
David.
Yes. What Latin term that means having served one's time is often applied to university professors who have retired but have been allowed to keep their title?
Pass.
Which fashion designer created the kit worn by the British Olympic and Paralympic teams at the Games in 2012 and 16?
Stella McCartney.
Yes. Chicle, a substance obtained from the sapodilla tree, was originally used in the manufacture of which type of confectionery?
Chocolate.
Chewing gum. What world-famous touring basketball club was founded in 1926 by the sports promoter Abram Saperstein? Despite its name, it was established in Chicago.
Harlem Globetrotters.
Yes. Whose death in 1170 is the subject of T.S. Eliot's verse drama Murder in the Cathedral? The play was first performed in Canterbury in 1935.
Thomas Becket.
Yes. Which American country singer and songwriter won 4 Grammy Awards in 2019, including Album of the Year for Golden Hour?
Sheryl Crow.
Casey Musgraves. The adjective ovine refers to which animals?
Sheep.
Yes. Which television crime series created by Jed Mercurio centres on the inner workings of an anti-corruption police unit called AC-12?
Pass.
In the early 19th century, organised groups of craftsmen destroyed the textile machinery that threatened their jobs. By what name are they known?
Peterloo Massacre.
Luddites. What well-known song written by Paul Anka and released by Frank Sinatra in 1969 is based on the French single Comme d'habitude?
My Way.
Yes. Which Irish author wrote the novels The Spinning Heart and From a Low and Quiet Sea? Both books were nominated for the Booker Prize.
James Joyce.
Donald Ryan. In the title of a 1904 opera by Puccini, the young geisha, Cho-Cho-san, is known by what name?
Madame Butterfly.
Yes. What herb provides the distinctive flavouring of traditional Lincolnshire sausages?
Parsley.
Sage. And your time is up, and you had 2 passes. That television crime series created by Jed Mercurio was Line of Duty. And you get to be an emeritus professor if you're allowed to keep your title after you've retired. You have, Louisa, 18 points. And finally, Christopher, again, please. Another 10-pointer. Score to beat, 19 points. Here we go. Which city was the capital of the Russian Empire from the early 18th century until 1918?
St. Petersburg.
Yes, in May 2019, the New York intersection at West 63rd Street and Broadway was named in honour of the 50th anniversary of which children's television programme?
The Muppets.
Sesame Street. Which member of the British royal family reportedly said on the birth of her first nephew, Prince Charles, "I suppose I'll now be known as Charlie's aunt"?
Margaret.
Yes. What word for information of little value or importance comes from a Latin term for a place where 3 roads meet?
Etc.
Trivia. In a preface to an edition of one of his novels, generally considered his most autobiographical, Charles Dickens wrote, "Of all my books, I like this the best." Which novel?
David Copperfield.
Yes. In 2017, the female striker, Toni Duggan, became the first English footballer to join Barcelona since a male striker moved to the Spanish club in 1986. Who is he?
Paul Gascoigne.
Gary Lineker. Which character from a Hans Christian Andersen fairy tale is commemorated by a statue in Copenhagen harbour?
Pass.
What is the English title of the work by Simone de Beauvoir, first published in 1949, that came to be regarded as a classic of feminist literature?
Pass.
Which singer became the first person to win the Mercury Music Prize for a second time when her album Let England Shake won the award in 2011?
Adele.
PJ Harvey. The Whispering Gallery is a feature of which London cathedral?
St. Paul's.
Yes. After his escape from the Philippines in 1942, an American general who commanded Allied troops in the Pacific during the Second World War arrived in Australia and said, "I came through and I shall return." Which general?
Eisenhower.
MacArthur. The quotation, "Walk on air against your better judgment," is engraved on the headstone of which Irish poet? He died in 2013.
James Joyce.
Seamus Heaney. What long-lived tree of the genus Taxus has a common or English species that is often found growing in churchyards and has bark and foliage that's poisonous to humans?
The oak.
U. The site of the Battle of Bannockburn is a few miles south of a Scottish city whose castle the English forces had come to relieve. Which city?
Edinburgh.
Stirling. The song Big Spender, a UK hit single for Shirley Bassey in 1967, features in a Broadway musical. Which musical?
Mamma Mia.
Sweet Charity. Which American actress, started start finished, received her first Academy Award nomination at the age of 72 for Best Supporting Actress for her role in the 1996 film The Mirror Has Two Faces?
Barbara Streisand.
Lauren Bacall. You had a couple of passes. The English title of that work that came to be seen as a classic of feminist literature was The Second Sex. And the statue in Copenhagen Harbour is of The Little Mermaid. You now have a total, Christopher, of 14 points. So let's have a look at the final scores. In fourth place with 11 points, Suzanne. Third place with 14 points, Christopher. Second place with 18 points, Louisa. First place with 19 points, David. Which means, of course, that David goes through to the semi-finals. Congratulations to him. And if you would like to be a contender in the next series, do go to our website, bbc.co.uk/mastermind, and you can follow us at Mastermind Quiz. And do join us again next time for more Masterminds. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.
When I came into the studio today, I had, three aims. One was not to fall over on the way to the chair. The second one was to get my name right. And then the third one was just basically to try and answer each question as it came. So I chose my specialist subject of Lorenzo de Medici because I did a degree in later life with the Open University, which involved a course about the Renaissance. And I really enjoyed that period of history.
First place with 19 points, David.
To become the Mastermind champion would be almost a dream which I haven't really allowed myself to think of so far. It's a programme that I've always watched since I was a child. It would mean a lot. It would be brilliant.